Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 33 of the Showbound podcast presented by Axel Watches. I'm your host, Ethan Cardwell, joined here by my boy, Michael Rask. And Rask, how you doing?
Oh man, you crushed it.
Yeah.
Little switch up for the listeners. For any new listeners, Cardsy never does the intro. That's actually the first time we're 33 episodes in. So good for you. Maybe I'll take the outro today. But um, it's been a good week. I'm touring my new apartment in Niagara Falls tomorrow or Wednesday as everyone's listening to this. I'll be there looking at my potential new place. So exciting, and maybe look for a good spot on the wall to get the jerseys and the Showbound thing up behind me. And
That should be priority number one when you're setting up a new house. Always prioritize Showbound over everything. So
I was
maybe
I was looking in the pictures, like where would I put the setup? So I've already been thinking about it.
beauty. I love that. That's good
Yeah.
stuff for the boys. What do we got on the docket for this week?
Well, what's up with you before we talk about the playoff games? You got anything going on?
No, just golfing a little bit. I guess U.S. Open week. So if you want to hear about our U.S. Open takes, follow along. We'll talk about that a little bit at the end. And staying on the golf theme, we have almost finalized our golf match that we're going to be running, the Showbound Showdown, we're calling it.
Oh yeah,
And
no one knows the name yet.
yeah, there's the final reveal, the name, the Showbound Showdown, and we're super pumped about it. We can't wait. So be sure to follow along. It should be out within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So stay tuned for that. Presented by our sponsor, Flight Golf, at www.golfflight.com. So go check
Showbound promo code baby 15% off.
Yeah, definitely go check them out. Cheap and affordable. Get it while you can. But no, I'm just hanging out, man. Working out a little bit and still golfing. I think like some ice is open this week, so I might get out for a rip on the ice. See how my wheels are. I haven't skated in 2.5 months, so could be a little bit rusty, but we'll see. Who knows?
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. I'm gonna get out there on the ice too. Now we do got to talk about actually before we even talk about the third round last week on the podcast, you doubled down on Colorado, bro. After we already embarrassed ourselves with the North Division, then you're like, okay, to redeem the North Division, Colorado's winning. We called it early, and then yeah, they lose. As we all know now, it's 1-0 Vegas over Montreal. It's Tuesday as we record this right now, and the game was last night, 4-1 win for Vegas. Vegas looks like the better team. I mean, I gave the little anti prediction last week by calling Montreal, so we all knew what that meant. So I'm really cheering hard for Vegas, and they're looking good.
And dude, I might add the fact that like Colorado looked good in game one of Vegas too. They won 7-1, and then they flipped the script. And I don't know, it's different. Montreal's going into a real crowd. They're going to play an intense game. They're playing against a physical team who knows how to win in the playoffs. And Montreal still they don't have a ton of experience throughout the lineup. I mean, they do have a little bit, but Vegas has been there. Like, even though this is their fourth year, I think. Yeah, fourth year, but they've been rolling. They've been to the playoffs. They've been in the playoffs every year, and they've made runs. So I think this could be their year. Definitely look good in game one. I want to hear about the Isles. What do you think there?
Yeah, man. I don't know, because I have no clue what to predict or expect. I mean, when I was just talking about it, I don't think I said on the podcast, before the game I predicted Tampa winning, but when you watch that Islanders game, like, it's kind of hard to pick against them. They look so good. It's going to be a great series. I see this thing going 7 games, but I don't know. I mean, if I had to make a pick, like, I'll stick with Tampa because that's what I said, but I would not be surprised if the Islanders win this. And I don't know, man. They're just so sound defensively. Even their goaltending is not questionable at all. Like, they've been getting great goaltending. They're doing it all, and it's not just Barzal getting the scoring done, which you would think. Like, they're kind of up and down the lineup getting it done, and they don't have their captain Anders Lee, so they're an impressive team, man.
Well, dude, if you think about it, they're deep. They got Nelson. They have Bailey, Bavillier, Eberle. These are just guys off the top of my head. Like, Uncle Leo's out there buzzing around.
Yeah.
Former Leafer, so you gotta love him. But no, then they have an awesome back end, and they picked up Palmieri and Zajac at the deadline too. Two older guys, who have experience in the locker room. And yeah, like you said, they're so defensively sound that it's hard to get shots. And I saw there was a stat that said, like, the chances were like 9 or like 0 for 9 on getting shots for Tampa or something like that when in like on 3-on-2s or something like that, some stat, but it just showed how good the Isles actually were in game one at shutting them down. They just played that game to a T, just wore the Tampa Bay Lightning out, and then scored when they had their opportunities, and that's all they needed to do. So I could really see them winning that series. And then, but with Barry Trotz behind the bench, like he's so good, and we saw that in Washington. Then wherever he goes, he just tends to win. So you got to give a lot of credit to Trotzy there.
Oh yeah, and game 2 goes tonight, Tuesday. So as you guys listen, you'll know the winner. But I think Tampa wins this one. They bounce back. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
I'll say Tampa 4-2 tonight.
I'm gonna go Tampa 3-2, and I don't think there's any empty netters. Everyone's too good on defense. Anyway, we should announce our guest. We got a big one. We've actually been killing it with the guests, so to our own horn. But Michael DiPietro, Vancouver Canucks goalie prospect. He has played on the Canucks for a few games, and just a great chat. We had a long chat with him, and he was a really nice guy, really fascinating. And he talks about his hard last season where he only got like 4 games of action in or something because he was up with the taxi squad in Vancouver, and a bit of a roller coaster of emotions for him, like he was saying. But we had some good stuff with Mikey, and I'm excited to get that one over to you guys. But before we do, I gotta say that summer's coming. Are you ready to unveil your beach bod? You're in luck. Our friends at Manscaped just launched their 4th generation performance package, which includes the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Complement your dad bod or 6-pack, dad bod for Cardsy, with the trim from the leaders in male grooming. The sun is shining and calling your name, fellas. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for hot guy summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code Showbound.
Yeah, state-of-the-art product. Really suggest anybody who's interested goes out and takes a peek and definitely buys it. I know me and Rask are huge fans. It's been treating us well, so we're smelling good, and we're all cleaned up down below.
Oh yeah, they actually emailed me that other package. I can't remember what it's called. It doesn't matter now because they emailed me that it was sold out, the one that you rated last week on the podcast. And that's insane because this is like Manscaped. They must have sold so many, and probably because of us.
Yeah, no, it would have been like half the sales, probably like half online and then half just Manscaped Showbound code. So if you want to be a part of that and you want to contribute to the Showbound takeover of Manscaped sales, let's go use that code now.
All right, it's time to bundle up with Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, weed whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, crop preserver, ball deodorant, crop reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. First off, the new Performance Package 4.0 includes the Lawnmower 4.0. This trimmer is insane, and dare I say, the GOAT of ball trimmers. Yeah, I said it, and I actually do agree with that. Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multi-function on-off switch, can engage a travel lock, and gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. Did I mention this trimmer is waterproof too? In the shower or in the wild, and from your chest pubes all the way down to your ball fro, the Lawnmower 4.0 is the best trimmer for you. Want to take your grooming game even further to the next level? The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker to chop your worst weeds up top in your nose and ear. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor powered by 360-degree rotary dual blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. Ooh. Seal the deal with Manscaped's liquid formulations before heading outside. Use crop preserver ball deodorant to keep you on your game in the heat. Then after trimming the lawn and whacking the weeds in the heat, give your beach balls a boost and use crop reviver. Oh, tongue twister. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort and boxers to another level. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code Showbound at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code Showbound at manscaped.com. Escape the shrubs and weeds this summer and shine with Manscaped. That was a bit of a mouthful. That was a long one.
Yeah, no, that was a very long read for Rask, so we'll give him a break there. Took us only an extra 15 minutes to do that, and it's the crack of dawn. So I'm not too worried about going anywhere. It's not like I want to go work out or do anything, but not a big deal, Rask. But quickly, just before we get into this interview with a goaltender, we want to mention that we do have an exciting little segment coming for you next week. Axel approved segment. Taya Curry will be joining us. Elga Middlesex goaltender, the first female to ever be drafted into the OHL. A 14th round of the Sarnia Sting. So we're super pleased to have her on, get a little bit of her story growing up in boys hockey and how things kind of unfolded to her being drafted by the Sarnia Sting, and we'll kind of see what she has next up her sleeve for moving forward with her career, if she's going to pursue the OHL potentially, or if she's going to look at college routes. So stay tuned next week to hear about that. But with that being said, I think we'll send it over to the Mikey DiPietro interview now.
Okay, we're pleased to be joined now by Michael DiPietro. What's going on, Mikey? How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Happy to have you on. So, I mean, everyone kind of knows you just got back from Riga, Latvia, the World Championships. You guys won gold. Your second World Championships, by the way. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but can you just tell us, like, what was that experience like? And obviously winning gold, like, when no one really kind of expected it.
Yeah, it was just a crazy experience, kind of how it all came together. I was in Utica when I got the call, and it was kind of the last thing you're even thinking about in a season like this, but it was definitely a pleasant surprise. I knew that a lot of NHL guys were probably going to turn it down based on the kind of the year that everybody's had. But anytime, you get to represent your country is an honor. So, heading over there, didn't know what to expect the second time around, especially with, the COVID situation and the bubble. I know most of us were all pretty much fully vaccinated anyways, but kind of the stipulations and rules kind of heading into it, we weren't really sure about. And then kind of once, we got around the guys and, we came together relatively quickly because we were basically bubbled up. So we were kind of forced to hang out, play cards together all the time. So as the tournament progressed, I think everybody saw us come together more and more as a team. And especially with the start we had, we needed to get our legs under us clearly. And, we finished off strong and ended on a high note. So, it was certainly a really cool experience.
Now, you mentioned getting the call in Utica. I know Roberto Luongo was involved in the team. Is he the one who called you?
Originally, it was actually the goalie coach in Vancouver. Kind of gave me a heads up. Ian Clark gave me a heads up that this might be coming my way, and kind of explained to me that Bobby Lou will be giving you a call and stuff like that. And then Bobby Lou gave me a call and kind of asked me if I was interested, and I said of course. I just had to run it by my parents. It's been a crazy year, so I had to call mom and dad and kind of let them know. And then they're like, are you nuts? Like, you're going like right away. So I'm like, okay, sounds good. And then, your mind's just in a blender for like a week trying to figure out logistically about, okay, how am I get my car over back into Canada? Okay, where am I flying from? All that stuff. And it was it was a pretty funny experience, but it all worked out, which is all you can ask for.
I mean, I imagine, obviously he's a Vancouver Canucks legend. Like someone, do you have a previous relationship with him at all? And like, I assume he's someone you look up to a lot.
Yeah. As a kid growing up, him, Jonathan Quick, Carey Price, those are my favorite goalies, and obviously Marc-Andre Fleury too. So, he's certainly somebody I looked up to, and it wasn't my first time meeting him. It was actually met him when I was in Windsor with the Spitfires. When the Panthers were in town playing the Wings, Jimmy Bedard was the goalie coach for the Wings at the time, and he would just pop over and kind of help us out on the ice during our practices. So he knew I was going to the game that night, and he asked me if I wanted to meet Bobby Lou, and I said, of course. So I met Jimmy on the concourse level, and he brought me down on ice level, and Bobby Lou had the night off. So he brought me down the tunnel during the game and kind of tapped Bobby Lou on the shoulder, and we just quickly met there. And it was, he's obviously a phenomenal person. He's one of the best to ever play the position, and he's someone who I look up to. So it was really cool.
Yeah, no, that must be an incredible experience. And I like to ask this one to goalies. Like, we've had a few goalies on the podcast, but when did you realize you wanted to be a goalie? Like, and how did you even get into being a goalie? Like, it's a pretty weird thing when you're a kid to want to be.
You're right. Yeah, it's super weird. You want to get hit by things. It's kind of, it takes a special breed, as they say. But actually, I started playing hockey as a defenseman, and my mom passed away when I was 5. So my dad started dating my stepmom, but I call her my mom, and she had a son as well. He's 6 years older than me, my brother Mark. And when they were dating, Mark was a goalie just in house league in Windsor. And I saw Mark make a save on a breakaway, and there's maybe 12 people in the stands or something like that. But for me as a kid, you could just, that was the coolest thing, how, the goalie could be an X factor in the game, and kind of how the tides kind of shifted. So immediately I turned to my dad. This is probably in March. I turned to my dad. I'm like, Dad, I want to be a goalie. And like immediately his face turned like 50 shades of white. He was like holding on to his wallet. I'm like, never seen my dad move so fast to his wallet in my life, but it was pretty funny. So that summer, I just threw on the pads. I think it was 8 or 9, and just kind of linked up with a goalie coach who I'm still relatively close with in Amherst here, with Brian Spearing. And then I met my goalie coach through him, and that fall, I guess, I tried out for AAA. I actually ended up making the team that year, but my dad already committed to coach in Amherstburg minor for the year. So I stayed in Amherstburg in AP AAA, and then went to Sun County the following season. So it was pretty cool transition.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. I didn't, a lot of people we just hear on here, like kind of easier paths and stuff. That's a different one for sure. Something we haven't heard before, but, so just kind of taking us through your minor hockey. After that, you're a high pick in the OHL, 23rd overall by Windsor. So your hometown team relatively in the area and stuff. And you, what was your OHL draft like for you?
It was a pretty cool experience. Obviously the OHL draft is in the morning, kind of. It's like a late morning kind of thing. So we had a bunch of family and friends over. We had both TVs going in the house, and we just had a bunch of Tim Hortons. And I'm Italian, so we do everything big with food. So we had a ton of food, and I think we had probably 40 people over at the house, and it was just a circus. And then as soon as it started, it was like you can hear a pin drop in my house, and so luckily I didn't have to wait too long to hear my name called. But it was nice to be able to share that experience with friends and family, and being picked by Windsor, you're right there. So I got to go to the rink that day and kind of meet everybody who I didn't know already, and yeah, it was pretty cool stuff. Pictures from that day, and we still talk about it. It's crazy to think it's what now 7 years ago, the draft. It's just mind blowing, but it seems like yesterday.
Yeah, time flies, especially in the OHL. Once you get in there, and then it's you're there, and then you're done. Like I've under 100 games, and because of COVID and everything, still going in my 4th year guy. So like a vet in the room, and you don't even realize it. But your first year, you split starts, you do really well, put up incredible numbers. So how did you find that adjustment to the OHL for you? Like you made it look pretty seamless.
Yeah, it was obviously a big jump. I think one of the funniest stories I have was in camp. And you obviously have rookie camp right when you first get drafted, then you have main camp in August. And Brian Tickle, who was our head scout at the time, he was in the stands, and I think it was my first ever skate with the main guys in the main group. And I was down at one end, at the home end, and the first drill, I literally, I'm not kidding you, I maybe stopped one puck the entire time. Like it was like a 6-minute drill, and I was just getting lit up. So I went to the bench, grabbed a sip of water, and I see his Teeks like walk down the stairs, and he just looks at me. He goes, "You're allowed to stop one, eh?" And right then and there, I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like I'm getting cut for sure. Like I should just hang him up. But it got better, and then I think as soon as the games came around, I just didn't think. I think being naive at 16, you just go in there and you just play. You don't think, and I was lucky enough to kind of just have a good season and kind of get acclimated relatively quickly. And I pride myself in my work ethic, and I just kind of found ways to, stop pucks, I think, in that first year. And then obviously as I got older, kind of my game matured, and you kind of understand the league and understand reads more. But, it's kind of just learning on the fly, especially when you're a rookie or a true rookie. You're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants.
That's really fascinating. Yeah, like giving up all those goals in the rookie camp, your confidence has got to be shot heading into the main camp and all that. But we have a couple mutual friends. I know, like, was Mario Kalina there that season? He's my buddy.
He joined us. He was my 4th goalie partner that year.
Oh wow.
I had 4 goalie partners that year, and Cully came in at the end of midway through, closer to the end of the season. And then he and I were buddies, like goalie partners and really, really close friends my second year. So yeah, he's a beauty.
So I have an interesting question. And I know, yeah, he's a great guy, like obviously, and I'm sure all your goalie partners are, but there's always this, there's competition between goalie partners at every level. You want to be the starter, everyone does. And you were in the position where you could be the starter, but can you just take us through like what that relationship of goalie partners is? Because, maybe sometimes behind the scenes, they're kind of rooting for you. I'm not saying anyone is, but in a certain situation, they're rooting for you to fail. Like, can you just tell us about that?
Yeah. I can tell you right now, when I was younger, it was such a big competition. Even in minor hockey, no matter what level, my backup was at, I just like we were civil, but I wouldn't say we were close. And as when I got to the OHL, it was like, I'm here to steal your job, especially as a 16-year-old. Like, I want to be the guy. And then as soon as you're the guy, everybody kind of wants, your spot. So you just have to work even harder to get there. So I was close with my goalie partners, but nobody I was close with up to my, my hockey career until I met Cully, the Croatian sensation. And he and I were super close. And the first year we were kind of, battling, jarring one another. And we same for the second year as well. But as kind of, things started to separate, we started, becoming closer and really, really tight knit. And I think it's, it's kind of a touchy subject. I think as you get older, you obviously mature as a person. And I think, you appreciate your goalie partner more. You start bouncing things off of them. And realistically, your goalie partner, minus the goalie coach, is the only person on the team who knows what you're going through and who's probably been in your shoes. So he's somebody that you can relate to. And so I think, that was kind of my mindset, kind of what clicked. So my third year when Cully left, I had Brock Byer, who was, a phenomenal person. And, he was just a guy he didn't play a lot of games, but him and I grew up playing against each other. So we knew each other, and he and I were really close, feeding off each other. And then I had Kari Peronen, who was in Finland, who was from Finland, excuse me. He was a younger kid. So I just, I think every year is kind of different, but as I got older, I kind of appreciated my goalie partners more and kind of learned and fed off them. And, I think it helped me in the long run because I could pick up a few things here and there. And plus, easier coming to the rink. I think, especially my first year pro, I had two veteran AHL, goaltenders who I learned a lot from, Zane McIntyre, Richard Bachman. So, those are guys where, anytime you can pick the brain of a guy who's been around longer than you have, or even the same amount of time, it's great because you're constantly learning all the time.
Yeah, that was an interesting answer. Like it's honestly really cool to hear that. Now we can't brush over your second year in the OHL. You guys ended up winning the Memorial Cup, and it was the whole thing where you guys were the host. Windsor hosted it, got beat out in the first round by Erie, I think, and then ended up winning it against Erie, right? Or did you lose to London in the first round?
No, we lost to London in Game 7 in London. And
okay,
it was a heartbreaker. The final goal is still up for dispute. Me and Oli Olevi still kind of jar back and forth,
Oh, yeah.
But it was the 40, I think it was 44 days or something like that off were a nightmare. Like phase one, so our coaches and training staff broke it up into 4 phases. So phase one, it was like 6 days on, 1 day off, 6 days on, 1 day off. And, they're doing 2 a days. I was in high school at the time. I was in grade 12. So I think I'd go to the rink, do like a 30-minute speed ladder. And our coach at the time, Rocky Thompson, would run the speed ladder. And Rocky was in better shape than all of us put together. Like, this guy was unbelievable. Like, the shape this guy was in was unbelievable. Like, we literally got him a robe for Christmas because, he always walked around with no shirt on. And he made everybody feel bad about themselves. So we're like, you got to wear this. So it was pretty funny. So we do like 30-minute speed ladder. We did 2 ice sessions and then workout after. So I remember my first night coming home from phase one. I was walking down my billet stairs and my legs gave out and I just fell right down the stairs. So I called Mario and I'm like, Cully, no chance we're doing all this and we're not winning this thing. So we go to the rink the next day and Mario's like, okay, we win this thing. I'm going to push you in the shower in your gear in the gitch bin. So I said, okay, we're going to do that. And that was like our only way getting us through like the phases. We're just each other kind of feeding off, laughing. And it was extremely hard, but obviously it was extremely worth it. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Fascinating. So like, get to the tournament. Can you just tell us, well, one, like what's all that media attention like? It's a whole nother thing that you probably haven't dealt with at that point. And then winning it, like how did that go down in the final game?
Yeah, it was eye-opening. Growing up, you watch the Memorial Cup and obviously it's national coverage and it's a big deal. And, you don't really realize how big of a deal it is until you're actually there and witness all the personnel and all the added things. Like throughout the season, we had FINA, which is like the international swimming competition, come in like November. But plus they were trying to prep for Memorial Cup. So we were on the road for like a month of November. We had so many like away games that were in the beginning of the season, and we were backloaded with home games. And being home so much, you got to like kind of see kind of all the preparations that kind of got into it. But as soon as it happened, you kind of eyes wide open and you're like, what the heck just happened? And then, the tournament starts and it's different because you don't know what other leagues are like. You hear about the St. John's powerhouse just absolutely carving through teams in the queue, led by Thomas Chabot. And then you have Barzell on Seattle that was there. And then Erie, I don't think we've beat Erie all season. I don't think we won one game against them. So we knew we were going to be in one for the tournament. But we trust each other. We were there. And I think the most pivotal part of the tournament was, I think it was like the first shot against that I received, like for myself, was like a puck squirted wide and our endbournes like shot it right back out. And I was down. So I just like laid back with my glove and I was basically on my back and my glove's on the goal line. The guy shot it right on my glove. And, if that went in the net, who knows, you trail and then, you don't really kind of have a chance to get a feel out process for the game. So that was a pretty big moment, I think, for myself for the tournament. It was kind of a big confidence booster. And then as the tournament progressed, I think our team got better and better. And I think it wasn't until the last game till we actually trailed in a game. And then, the way the last game shook out was bizarre. Between, their third goal, arguably could have been kicked in, no call. They're up 3-2. Stan scores from the point on an ice burner. And then Luch scores from Brax. And then those are the longest. I think there are like 14 minutes left in the game. And those are like the longest 14 minutes of hockey I've ever played in my life. And but as soon as you win, it's like winning any championship in any league. You just go nuts. You scream. You're so happy. You feel like you're on top of the world. And then you just celebrate. And then you're just, with your teammates enjoying it. And unfortunately, Gabe, Velarde, and I, very, very short celebration because we had to leave, I think, a day later for the combine. So it was just a quick turnaround.
Yeah, quick turnaround there. But like you said, you just go wild after winning anything. And that's a pretty special moment. And like Rask said, we're not going to brush over your second year. And that second year that you won the Member is actually your draft year, as you mentioned, going to the combine days later. But a lot of hype surrounding you, especially after winning the Memorial Cup. A lot of people had you going really high, and you ended up doing that real high goalie pick. So what was that year like for you with all that attention and all the spotlight as a high-end goalie going into that draft?
Well, it was stressful. I think, I'm a person who puts a lot of pressure on myself, regardless of any situation. I think, my second year in the O, balancing, your draft year, balancing your hosting the Memorial Cup, those things in the back of your head. Plus, you're from the area, so you want to do well, you want to win. It was a lot for me, and the added pressure I put on myself, personally and from a professional standpoint. I don't think I've ever answered so many questions about my height in 1 year. That was like the first question most scouts would ask. So how tall are you? Who do you think you play like? And then, it seems like that was the only question they were concerned about. and then everything else was kind of, after the fact kind of thing. So it kind of like fueled me, like my motivation. I knew that, obviously it was a pretty good goal year with Jake Ottinger and then Luukkonen too. So I'm a super competitive individual, and so as the year progressed, I tried my hardest not to look at draft standings, but you're only human. You're curious to see kind of where you are and where other people view you versus where you think you yourself belong. It's a touchy subject, I think, especially with my personality that I have, that always want to be the best or push or get better. It was tough. It was a tough year. Ended off on a really high note with the Memorial Cup win. So I really didn't know heading into the draft what it was going to shake out like. And heading into it, my agent, was like, it's Hollywood for a day. That's all it is. My parents kept telling me that. But as a kid, it doesn't really resonate with you until you're actually there. And you're like, okay, this is so cool. But then the next day it's like, okay, it's over. Now they keep on working. And then you come to camp and you have all these other free agents who are phenomenal hockey players, older than you. And, you just want to perform well, but, they're good hockey players too. I think it's a really, it opens up your eyes and puts things in perspective. So that was, a pretty big year for myself.
And yeah, everything ended up working out on draft day, a third rounder to the Vancouver Canucks. And from there, obviously a lot of success in the organization, working yourself up. But how was that draft? And take us through the moment you got picked. And then did you kind of have a feeling that it might have been Vancouver? Did you have good talks with them?
I actually didn't talk to Vancouver during the year. We had a really good interview at the combine, and I thought it went really, really well. And I knew kind of where they were picked. They had 2 picks in the second, and then they had a pick early in the third. So, I kind of hoped, somewhere around there. And but the draft is such a roller coaster of emotions. I think, you think you can go there, you don't get picked, you get pissed, and then you look up, you're like, oh, I think I can go here. And it's just like a complete roller coaster of emotions. Even for my family too, my brother, my mom, my dad, just kind of constantly looking at the board. I think you bounce your leg up and down so many times. You start sweating, and it's ridiculous. So finally, when my name got called, I like sprung up and I hugged my dad, hugged my brother, hugged my mom. And then my agent came down, shook his hand, and I needed to take my jacket off, like my suit jacket. And my mom and dad surprised me with these cufflinks with my biological mom's earrings in them as a draft day gift, which was really special. And so, the cufflinks were so big, I couldn't get the jacket off. So at this point, I'm like, Dad, rip the damn jacket off right now or cut it off. I don't care. I'm trying to run down the stairs. But it was pretty cool. It was just something funny that we still laugh about too. And I don't think I've worn those cufflinks since. Those are just in my room, put away. But it was pretty funny.
That's a nice little keepsake and definitely a special thing to have on draft day, but maybe a little bit in the way at untimely time.
100%.
Oh man, that's funny. And I do want to get into the Vancouver stuff, but just quickly, we can't skip over. You got traded to Ottawa in the OHL and got to go on a deep run there with, honestly, like one of the most stacked teams ever. I don't know how you guys didn't end up winning, but can you just quickly tell us about that run and that experience?
Yeah. The trade to Ottawa, I knew it was kind of happening. Warren came to my house the night before, but whenever you get traded, especially my first time, it was just, you're emotional. You don't want to leave. I had a lot of things tying me here, and but it was a great opportunity for myself. So, I think my time in Ottawa was such a roller coaster until actually the playoffs, because, I had World Juniors, I had the emergency call up, so I was a lot of up and down, a lot of traveling. So I think the playoffs were actually the first time I felt kind of like settled in and comfortable. And so as that kind of, when playoffs started for us, everybody was so excited. I think our team was gearing up well. We played well down the stretch, obviously. We felt good about ourselves. And then we just started rolling. I think we got better as each series wore on. And each series kind of highlighted, a different kind of, thing, like a certain game I remember from that series, I remember game 1 against Hamilton and kind of the way that went. And then, game 4 in Sudbury in round 2 with triple overtime. And then game 3 in Oshawa with Felly scoring with a minute left in the third to make it 1-1 and then scoring on a power play, right at the beginning of overtime. It was funny when we flew over to Europe, Sasha Chmielewski was, playing for the U.S. So we just sat down together and we literally talked about that run for a good hour and just, the quirks, playing cards with the guys on the bus, the travel, the stuff that like behind the scenes you don't really get to see. And then unfortunately I got hurt in game 2 against Guelph. We were on a heater and we were 13-0 at that time. And, my goalie partner came in and played really well. We won game 2 and unfortunately lost the last 4 and unfortunately lost the finals. And it was tough watching, being injured and not really having a direct impact on the game, which was tough. But, I look back on my time in Ottawa with nothing but fond memories. And I still keep in touch with a lot of the staff there as well. So, yeah, some things, fall your way and some things don't.
I want to hop in here and say too, though, like he goes down in the finals against Guelph. We lose Ivan in the conference finals against Guelph. Like Guelph got and Mikey and Ivan are arguably the 2 best goalies in the league at this point. Obviously Luukkonen too, he was a great goalie and stuff, but they're the top 2 goalies in the league and Guelph gets the bounce of losing both those guys in the series. So, I mean, probably should have been SAG versus Ottawa and then that it would have been a battle of the goalies. But I mean,
then it obviously would have been Ottawa winning the finals, obviously.
Debatably, but yeah, if you go down, then no way. But if you're healthy, then we'll see.
Actually, Cardsy, did you ever score on Mikey?
No, man. I don't even know if I played him because I think he went to. I was down, and then he got traded before I even had played Windsor. Maybe, probably not even.
Okay, that would have been funny.
Definitely no talk though. Definitely no talk.
We would have put that in a clip. That would have been fun. But I'm just curious because you mentioned Warren Reichel. Like Cardsy and I know him really well. Like, what's your relationship with Reichs like?
Reichs is great. I've known Reichs since I was probably 8, and I played with the son Maddox growing up. And there are so many stories of Reichs and, him at the rink. He would come on the ice, help coach us, when I was a minor, help us out. And he's just so 0 to 100, so quick. And it is so funny. I remember my first ever experience with Warren I was 9 years old at a Sun County practice. And I'm not sure if you ever guys went to the Essex Bowl to play Sun County growing up or whatever, but there's the bowl where the junior C team plays, and I'm at the one end during practice, and Warren comes out on the ice with his Colorado Avalanche tracksuit when he played, and then his helmet, but his helmet is 8 sizes too small, so it was literally just sitting on top of his head like one of those little memorabilia helmets, and it's just sitting on top of his head, and everybody's looking at him how is this thing staying on? So then he starts screaming. He goes, this one drill, all slap shots, just crack it. And I'm 9 years old in the net, and mind you, I was a chubby kid when I was younger, so I was just a little chubby kid in the net, and Warren comes down, just takes a slap shot, hits me right in the stomach. I go down like a ton of bricks. Start crying on the ice. I'm this is the most pain I've ever been. He goes, get up, you're fine. And he starts cracking it again. It was so funny. But he's a great hockey mind. He's a great person. You love him, you hate him at times, but he always has your best interest at heart, especially when you give it your all, he's gonna go to bat for you too. So it's he's a good guy.
And a funny thing about Reichs is he's actually still running that drill. We did it last year in Barrie. He calls it missile command. And everyone just slides up and rips one tees at the tendy. I'm I'm not feeling too good for the tendies. We're just walking and just pumping them at the goalie. So definitely know how you feel there. Would have been a tough one. But I want to talk about probably one of the biggest moments in your career was the emergency call-up. Pretty special moment, obviously, anytime you get the call to the NHL, and especially so quickly and how abruptly it happened. Can you kind of just take us through quickly how it happened and what the moment was like for you in your first NHL game?
Yeah. I was in Ottawa at the time. I got a call at my billet house from Ryan Johnson, who at the time was the head of our player development. And he's also the GM for our farm team. And he goes, "We need to call you up." And I thought it was a joke. I thought, like, I didn't know it was. I'm like, no, like, you have other guys for sure. But the cards fell where they needed to call me up on an emergency basis. And I met the team in Washington. I sat on the bench, my very first game, and it was just, my eyes were wide open. I thought that was the coolest experience. And then I went on the plane. I was just like, we get to go right on the plane. Like, where's like security go through? Like, it was just, it was completely something I'm not used to at the time, obviously. And I thought it was the coolest thing. I kept texting my parents. I'm like, the food is unbelievable here. Like, it's just ridiculous. So we flew to Chicago, and then I backed up in Chicago, and we flew home after that. And for some reasons, can't really say, but anyways, I had to play the game. It kind of happened very quickly. It was after morning skate. I was stretching in the gym. I think it was like at 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we played the Sharks that night. And they're like, Mike, Clarky comes in the gym. He goes, "You're playing tonight." And like a pit just dropped in my stomach. I was so nervous. There was no pregame nap. It was just looking at the fan on the ceiling the entire time, just so nervous. And then obviously the game didn't go so well. It was probably, one of the worst games you could probably do for your very first one. Definitely not how you draw it up. When you think of first game, you think of a 40 save shutout standing on your head. Not 7 goals against and, an absolute shooter tutor out there during a game. But for myself, it was probably the best thing to happen in my career. And I said this multiple times, it was something that I learned a lot from. I learned the strides in my game where I needed to go. And, I had a process of how I needed to get there through Clarky, through Sam Mann, through my goalie coach here. And, as I'm not going to say embarrassing as that game was, because it's a dream come true getting to play in a National Hockey League game. But it's obviously I wanted to do better. And, being 19 at the time, goalies take longer to develop, whatever you may say, not a lot of time for preparation. I'm never one for excuses. For me, I just wanted to, take it as a learning experience, move on and get better. And I think I have in the past few years. And, even 2 seasons ago when I got to go in the third period against Vegas, I think, the comfortability level, even, for that 4 months of pro hockey, getting used to pro hockey in the American League before getting the call up, it is big. And your comfort level and, the sense of belonging. And then this year too, you feel like you belong and you feel like you're doing the strides in your game to get better. So, it was tough, but it was certainly a really cool experience getting to play at such a young age. And hopefully there will be many more games to play, but hopefully with better outcomes. Can't get much worse than 7 rips against you. So it's all right.
Hey, yeah. And you know what you said at your first rookie camp with Windsor, you let them all into. So you might as well get that out of the way early, and then your career will be on the up and up, and hopefully a cup here soon when you get back up there. But I know I'll let Rask touch on your first pro season.
Yeah, before we send it into like talking about your first full pro season, it just reminded me, because you talk about the food on the plane and all that stuff getting up in Vancouver. We had Max Jones on last week, and he called it, I'd never heard this, I don't know if a lot of people, he called it the Never Hungry League, and I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, it's legit the Never Hungry League. If you ate every meal that was put in front of you or available to you, I'd be 900 pounds. I'd be back to when I was like 6 years old. I'd be I wouldn't be in shape, I'd be A shape. It would be ridiculous.
Oh man, that's hilarious. And yeah, anyway, so your first pro season, you're in Utica in the AHL, and I know like you obviously had that NHL game before, but how do you find the adjustment to being a full-time pro, like on and off the ice? So even just like learning to cook, live on your own, like how all about it? How was that?
It was actually pretty smooth. With Vancouver moving the farm team out to Abbotsford, I was obviously in Utica for the past 2 years, and Utica is a phenomenal city. I was really lucky. Like I'm a pretty social person. I love to get to know people, who they are. I like to like immerse myself in the community, like wherever I am. So when I got to Utica, I really didn't know what to expect. A lot of guys were like, well, there's nothing really around it. It's just basically hockey and a lot of Italian restaurants. Well, being Italian, it was like, okay, I'm from there. Like I have a lot of paisanos there. You know what I mean? So it was pretty easy to kind of get to know people. And I really got to know the DeSaro family really, really well there. And the mother works for the team in marketing and for corporate sponsors and everything. And she has and her husband Anthony, who I got to know through her, and their 3 young kids. And so I would literally go over to their house for dinner at least like 3-4 times a week. Just, I put up their Christmas tree. I took the kids trick-or-treating. It was so much fun. And I think, as soon as I got to know the DeSaro family, they introduced me to everybody in Utica. And as soon as that happened, it really made myself more comfortable being in the community, especially being 20 years old and living on my own for the first time. I was nervous. I didn't really know what to expect or even where to live. But then from the hockey perspective and the hockey side of things, it was great. I think when you're around other pros and you have so much access to open ice and you have access to the gym, you really get your feet under you relatively quickly. And you're not so wide-eyed like I was because, in junior is kind of a little bit more babied or more structured. In pro, it's your prerogative to get better. Nobody's going to hold your hand. It's kind of like when you make jump from grade school to high school. Nobody's holding your hand in high school to university. So I think for us and for myself, as soon as I got kind of in a few practices with the guys and kind of got my feet wet with Sandman and Utica, I was lucky enough to have a pretty solid season again in Utica for my first pro year. And I think that's what made me so comfortable and made me be able to perform so well is because I got to know people in the community. I got to adapt so quickly and, I felt comfortable and I'm a routine-based person and I got to get a routine, really quick.
Interesting. Yeah. So just curious, since you mentioned it, what are your thoughts on the move to Abbotsford?
It's great. I think for the organization, it makes sense, especially being on the West Coast, being so close to Vancouver, everything like that. Selfishly, I loved Utica. I love the people there. It was certainly tough to go. It was pretty emotional the last game. I was extremely happy I got to play the last game ever, for the Utica Comets in Utica, under the Vancouver Canucks organization umbrella. And, we took some, pictures on the ice after. It was really emotional, I think, for the DeSaro family and for myself because, I won't be seeing them next year as often as I was. So it's a tough pill to swallow, but I think it makes sense for the organization. And, I'm looking forward to, having a good camp coming up here. And, my goal is to make Vancouver. I've said that multiple times. And, I'm a guy who sets really high bars and really high goals. So, that's my goal.
And
yeah, Rask, I was just going to quickly add he probably doesn't care where the AHL team is he's going to be in the show next year. So
I don't know about that. I got to earn it, but hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I was just curious too, because I think you mentioned it earlier too, but I know you were up with the Canucks for a while that season as well, like just backing up and being around the team. So what was that like? Every day, getting to work out, practice, like see what these guys are doing. Like, how was that experience for you?
Yeah, like are you talking about being a part of the taxi squad?
No, like your first pro season, you were up there. Were you not?
Oh yeah, I was up for a few weeks. Yeah, no, it was great. It was honestly, it was really cool. I think it was, I wasn't as eyes wide open as obviously the emergency call up because of, like I said, you have those first 4 months of being pro. And you get kind of acclimated, you get kind of used to it. But yeah, I think it was really good for myself to kind of immerse myself around those guys and kind of see how they work, see what they do on a daily basis. But yeah, I think, you're still so young. So you just try to, do the right things to kind of give yourself the most success as possible, but also, being a good teammate. And, you touched what we touched on earlier about, your goalie partners. being able to be around Markey and be around Demmer, those are guys that are obviously phenomenal goaltenders and who I look up to as well. And, when I got to be around them and just kind of, get to know them on a personal level, but also kind of see them, how they interact on a daily basis as well. You come into the rink, do your work, but then also when you leave the rink, you leave all the stuff at the rink and you don't really take it with you and you just kind of enjoy your day as well is kind of, important to kind of separate the two.
That's interesting. I find that, because when you're in junior, you got to worry about school and all the other things going on with your billets. When you're in pro, it's all just on your own and you can kind of just go about your life and then really just focus on getting better at the rink. So, and one thing that just kind of came to my mind, like for being a goalie, like I never really asked a goalie this. I know I talk to players about this all the time and I've seen it firsthand. So for you playing in the OHL, like your last year, you're playing against O2s and whatnot, like you're getting rocket shots on guys like from me, like my shots are bomb. So, but then you go up and you're getting shots from like Brock Besser. Like what is the difference? Like how noticeable is it for you?
Well, I mean, Cards, like you have an absolute missile. So, I mean, it's pretty comparable, but, but yeah, no, I think, people talk about what's the biggest adjustment, and obviously the size, the speed, the shots, like that stuff is to be expected. But I think the biggest thing that, my emergency call up and, my first year pro and all that stuff kind of taught me was, it's the stuff you didn't expect. Like the hockey IQ and the knowledge for the game, like no plays wasted. Like in the OHL, you can kind of see on a 3-on-2, a guy kicks it out wide, middle lane driver, there's going to be a shot off the flank with either a double drive or, a pass off the ass to the guy on the far side. It's pretty cut and dry. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a shot. But when I entered pro, it was different. Like, the shot tips, an option now, actually a scoreable threat. Then there's a lot more net front traffic. Guys are tipping everything, to have, I think maybe half the shots that you face in the game are probably tipped or hitting something, and, managing your traffic. Those are things that were really difficult for me when I was on the emergency call up and working through it that game. And that's what I think caused me to have not a lot of success because I wasn't used to it. And as I kind of progressed in my game and as a, pro hockey so far, you work on these things, these habits or these skill sets that Clarkey and Sandman kind of introduced to you and I bring home to work on. So I mature my game. But yeah, like the shots is obviously night and day, quick releases. But I think the way the guys think the game and the way the game's played, it's a lot faster. Things are done with more purpose. And there's a lot more scoreable, threats usually than what you'd see in junior.
Mm-hmm. And that makes total sense. I mean, these guys have been around, they've seen it. And like me and you went through it, like you go through the OHL, you learn things every single year. And you can only imagine at the next level, some of these guys have been in the league for 15 years. Like imagine the amount of stuff that they're picking up. And it's going to be crucial for you as a goaltender, I believe, is going through, because you can only learn and learn as a goalie. And that's why goalies get better over time for sure. But yeah, I want to talk about your next season a little bit. So the season that just happened before you went to the Worlds, what was that year like for you? Obviously with a COVID season, but you spent a lot of time on the taxi squad up with Vancouver and then down in Utica.
Yeah, I think COVID kind of, screwed everything up for pretty much everybody, including myself. And I think this year, if it taught me anything, it was just being able to find solutions on things you can control and just letting go and accepting things you just are completely out of your control. And, with this season, heading into camp, I wanted to be that third goalie on the taxi squad because I didn't know the security of the AHL. I didn't know what it would look like. While we were at camp, we got word that Utica's, going to be sharing duties with St. Louis's farm team. So we're going to be like kind of merging farm teams for the year. So for me, it was just making the taxi squad. That was my goal. And then as the season kind of went on, I probably went through every emotion you could probably think of between, you're pissed off, you're happy, you're sad, you're confused, you're frustrated. because, you're getting up in the morning, you're going to the rink, you're skating, you're working out, and you're coming back to your apartment doing nothing, and you can't do anything. And I'm by myself. And, I have a mental skills coach. I use it a lot. And, just calling him, venting to him, calling my parents, just somebody to talk to. And, I think as the season went on, every day that came, I wanted to get the most of every day and to get better and improve, because being around Clarkie every day is a huge pro of being up on the taxi squad, because you get to work on things, get to work on concepts. But as the months went on, the problem with that is, you get taught all these concepts, you practice them, but you have to be able to take what you practice and put it in the game and like see it actually come into your game, and when to use it and everything like that. So it was a trying season. I think, as in the mornings, I put a sticky note on my door, just win the day. And, that's what kind of helped me get through the monotony, and, every day's Groundhog Day. But, I think as time went on and finally I kind of got, released or was able to go play some games down in Utica. That was great. I think I felt great. My game felt great. And that was important to me to be able to go play some games and kind of put all the things we were practicing, to use.
Yeah, and one thing that kind of came to my head about the whole season was there's a lot of stuff going on with Vancouver and the whole COVID thing. Were you in Vancouver when all that went down, or were you in Utica?
Yeah, no, I was in Van when that happened. So, it was another 2 weeks of quarantine. Luckily I dodged it. Luckily everybody and their families are recovered from that incident. And, for us, it's just, I'm just hoping, everybody, hopefully we have a normal season next year and we don't got to worry about this stuff.
What was that like when that was kind of all going down? I don't know how much you can talk about it, but the news, and then for you guys to come back, for especially the players and the goalie who started that next game against Toronto after not playing and barely having any practices. What was that just like, that preparation like for you guys?
Well, I think it's, I don't want to say too much, but I think it was a scary thing to go through. I think every day you're getting an update on more and more people getting infected and their tests coming back positive. I know some guys were hit harder than others. But like I said, I was just really happy that everybody now has been made a full recovery and their family, hopefully. And, when we got word that we, had to come back and, continue the season, we were playing the Leafs. The Leafs were obviously really good. They were on a heater going into it. And we came back and, the guys found a way. And luckily I was backing up that game, and it was so cool to see us kind of claw our way back in the game. And it was something special, even though I didn't have an impact on the game, directly. I was just watching it on the bench. That was so cool to be a part of, especially taking that much time off, having such limited practice time. Guys are still battling through, and, having the resiliency to kind of push through and win that game. That was pretty cool to be a part of. And it showed a lot of gut, showed a lot of resiliency from all the guys in the room. And, it was pretty cool for myself to even be a part of it. So I think it showed a lot of people that, we just wanted to play and push through, and they did.
I'm a Leafs fan myself, and I remember watching that game, and I couldn't help but feel like proud of the Vancouver guy. Like it was a cool story. Like so that's pretty cool. I'm just curious. I mean, you're finally in your off season now after, like you said, a really up and down season. So what's your off season look like as a goalie? What are you training? What do you like to do? And even just away from training, what do you do for fun?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's probably just go to the gym, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesdays, our trainer, and I work out with Zach Cassian. So him and I work out together, and, we actually are, we play. Well, I'm going to attempt to play some tennis on Wednesdays, just something different, play a different sport on the clay. So it's easier on the joints, and, just hit it around, have some fun, something to break up the week. So you're not in the gym just lifting all the time. And, Obviously between skating and all that, you do all that stuff. But, for me, I'm just looking forward to be home with my family. It's been an extremely long year. My brother's in Nashville. He's an architect over there. So I haven't seen him. So hopefully he can come in July and, with the border hopefully opening soon and, so I can see him. But, just playing some cornhole, go to the beach, play some cornhole, throw the football around, just kind of enjoy the summer for what it is. Play a little bit of golf. What I do, you can't really call golf, but you can't even, it doesn't do the game any justice. So, but just trying to enjoy being home as well as prepare for the next season. But definitely just kind of soak it all in because it does fly by.
That's funny. No, I mean, Cardsy knows I'm a pretty sick golfer myself too.
That would be a marquee matchup if Mikey's as bad as he says. Rask versus Mikey, head-to-head, Showbound sponsor it.
That would be hilarious.
Maybe
that
one of us gets
hilarious.
under 100 or something.
Under 100. What, on the front nine?
Oh, man. So I just have an interesting question. Obviously, young guy signs an NHL deal. What do you like to do with your money? Like, are you balling out or are you kind of investing smart? Like, what are you like?
No, I don't touch it. I just put it away, invest it, just do the smart things because, realistically, it's not a ton of money that you're making right now. So, for me, it's just, I don't really live a flashy lifestyle. I'm kind of boring in that way, but I try to play the long game. My goal is to hopefully get a house in the next few years and, just kind of grow up, do the mature thing. And like I said, I'm not in a big name brands or anything like that. Just living within my means. And, it's nice to, like I said, live at home with mom and dad for a little bit in the summer. Cause you just, get to old doing your own laundry and cooking all the time. And, my first year in Utica, I mean, like I can cook, I'm not phenomenal, but I can get by. And I didn't have a barbecue at my place and I do a lot of barbecuing. So mom and dad got sausages from the butcher and some steaks brought up to me in my apartment. And, I'm used to barbecuing like some sausages or whatever on the barbecue. So I called mom. I'm like, hey, how the heck do I cook these sausages on the barbecue? She goes, well, like put them in the oven and like make sure you poke holes in them. So like, they breathe and whatever. So whatever, we played in Syracuse in the afternoon. We came back. So I'm like, okay, add these sausages and throw them in the oven, turn it on. I'm sitting on the couch. 15 minutes later, I hear it's a freaking bomb. Scared the shit out of me. And so I go to the oven and the sausages exploded all over the oven because I didn't poke the stupid holes. So literally for 4 hours till 1 a.m, I'm like cleaning my oven. And it was ridiculous. I'm like, okay, this is bull. I should have just picked up Don's on the way home. Like, this is a joke.
So now you're stuck with a sausage bomb in the oven and no food for the rest of the night. And he's got to clean all night. That's a sick night. And I'm sure just because your day, you might have lost that game too. Just not a great day luck wise for you.
Probably lost that game too. I forget, but who knows? Probably took 3 off the bean too. Just what a morning.
Not your day.
We'll have to make sure we get you a barbecue, I guess, with your contract money. But the reason I ask about the money is our partners at Gavin Hockey Ball Specialists believe that your goals matter. After hundreds of early morning practices and countless hours on the ice or in the gym, you truly earned your success and you deserve to enjoy it. For over 20 years, the team at Gavin has assisted professional hockey players with setting goals and, more importantly, providing them with a game plan to achieve them. Whether it's a house, a car, a barbecue, a cottage, or even supporting your family, it's all within reach when you partner with a pro. You can check them out at gavingroup.ca. Now it's funny because you talk about like investing smartly. That's what the Gavin guys like to hear. That's what we like to hear. So it's a good lesson for, I think, everybody listening, and definitely respect to you for that, because some people like to go a little nuts when they get the money at a young age.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think my parents would, they're a little old fashioned too. So they'd smack me. They smack me straight.
Yeah, they keep you on the straight and narrow there. And we're just about done. We got everything covered that me and Rask wanted to talk about, but we always get a bunch of fan questions that we'll go through. I'll talk about a few, and then I'm sure Rask might be able to hop in with a few. What's your stick and what specs are on it? Like, I guess its specs are a little bit different. A lot of people won't understand, but you might as well tell us anyway.
Yeah, I just use a true. I have my own curve on it. It's nothing special. It's actually almost pretty flat. It helps me make sure my passes are along the ice. I don't need to go bar south or whatever, like with our shots. I see some goalie just ripping it with the Bauer, which are great sticks too, but I just prefer just true. It's a little heavier. Just makes me feel like I'm actually holding like a goalie stick in my hand and whatnot. So yeah, just relatively normal.
Okay. Here's a good one. We got superstitions and game day routines, and I've heard from a few sources there's a lot of them.
Well, I mean, like there's a few. I don't call them superstitions. I call them routine. My routine's relatively long. It's just, but it's way better than what it was. Like usually, like when I was younger, I needed to follow this to a T. Like this one, when I was younger, I literally made my mom make another lasagna for like the next game that we were playing, just because I got a shutout the night before. So I'm not that superstitious to that level anymore. But whether on the ice, every time I go to my crease, I stop with my left foot. It's weird. I snow my crease the same way. After every whistle, I take a drink of water. TV timeout, go to the boards. I do towel, wipe my face, water, Gatorade, towel, water, towel, throw it back. Can't set it out, set it down, throw it back to the trainer, Parmy. And then like tons of stuff, like there's stuff in the room where I'll put my chesty on after the coach comes in to talk to the guys. So like I'll go finish my whatever amino acids or whatever drink I have in between periods, and then go to the bathroom, come back, and then just wait. So there's just a few quirks here and there. Put my stick in a certain spot. The way as soon as I get to the rink with my coffee, throw my pads down, pants on top of the pads, socks on either side of the pant. There's a few, but those are just a couple, or else I'll be here all day.
Few.
and Mikey, tell me if I'm wrong. I never played with you, but I feel like you could be the guy who's the first guy at the rink for game day. Am I wrong?
Well, I get there first. I'm most likely the first guy at the rink for practice, no doubt. Games, I used to be there really, really early. Now I kind of tapered it back to like 2.5 hours, or else you just get there, you just sit there so long, you have nothing to do. But practice days, you'll catch me there at least 2 hours before practice starts.
That's dialed in. So for all the young listeners, take notes. First one in, last one out. Mikey's mentality. Who has the best shot you've ever faced, other than like me?
That's extremely tough. My first men's worlds, we were pretty stacked. So we had like McDavid, Ekblad was there. You look down that roster, O'Reilly, like we had a really, really skilled group. So obviously those are, high-end shots, high-end talents. In the O, probably, Tipper, like what a release that guy's got is just ridiculous. But yeah, no, I think that on Vancouver's probably PD. PD has a weird release. He sweeps it, so he can basically go anywhere with it. I think when guys shoot off the toe, it's kind of more predictable. You kind of get a better read. But when guys like PD like sweep it, it's a tough read to make. So there's a few shooters that made me look stupid once or twice. So don't you worry.
Yeah, there's a lot of nasty shooters, and I didn't really stack that Worlds team was your first time around, but that's pretty nasty. You got to play with all those guys, and kind of just something that just came to my head that I was curious about. What would you say in your career is your best pad setup or your setup like in general?
Well, I think my best setup would probably be this past one with the World. I loved it. It was something different. It's something I never do. I usually am pretty reserved with my gear. So probably like those would be my most out there kind of set. Growing up, my first set of Brian's pads were hand-me-downs from an older Sun County goalie. His name was Jake Luger, and he had these Panther pads. So like it's legit a face of a Florida Panther split in two on the pad, and those were like the coolest things I thought. So Brian's does some pretty cool stuff, and I love Brian's for it. They make them 40 minutes away from my house, so it's really easy to go get some stuff from them, and I love using their stuff. But for now, it's more reserved. But I think the Canada stuff was by far the most out there set I've had, and pretty sick in my opinion.
And after you get a few more games in the show, maybe a few years, you get a little bit more flashy after some shutouts under the belt and stuff.
Yeah, we gotta establish yourself first. Then you can go a little out there. But until that time comes, I think I'll be more reserved a little bit.
Yeah, and no, I that does it for all my fan questions and for the whole interview itself. Rask, you got anything else to add, or is that all?
Yeah, I just want to add, we sent you a beautiful Axel watch. You'll be looking nice rocking it into the rinks in Vancouver when you're a show starter next year. So that'll be dirty. But yeah, no, it was great having you on. This was a long one. It was a lot of fun hearing, your mentality and kind of the ups and downs of your career and the weird season you just had. So yeah, we appreciate you coming on. I know our listeners are going to love this one. So yeah, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, guys. It was awesome.
All right, and thanks, Mikey, for that one. You guys heard, great interview. We're super pumped about it. I thought it went really well. Kind of a different aspect of an interview. It's kind of a different one we haven't heard from. Maybe a little bit different on perspective. We had a goaltender, a Memorial Cup winner, a guy who follows a routine and a regimen very strictly and is very dialed into his craft. So interesting to hear about that. What did you think, Rask?
Yeah, it was cool. I didn't know what to expect. Hearing his story was cool, and got that emergency call up in Vancouver, which I remember watching, and I was really fascinated to hear about. So to hear him kind of talk about that day was really cool, and yeah, his routine, not superstitions, his routine is fascinating. Like he's absolutely dialed in, so it was cool. But I actually wanted to ask Cardsy before we keep moving: are you watching The Bachelorette this season?
No, honestly, I'm not even. Like, it looks like such a joke. Like, I'm not even
I'm not watching it either. I haven't even looked. I was just curious if you were.
Yeah, maybe when the OHL season starts up and I got nothing to do with the boys on Monday nights, maybe we can start it back up then. But for now, The Bachelorette is on pause for the Showbound podcast. So if you're here for that segment, it's not happening. Sorry.
And we got playoff hockey to talk about now. So we got more filler in our episodes anyway. So we're good.
And speaking of big sporting events, we have the US Open this week. So let's get your take. We're at Torrey Pines this week. So who you got?
Oh, I mean, it's a tough pick, but probably Will Zalatoris.
Dude, man, this guy, you probably wouldn't understand any of this. But Will Zalatoris still does not have PGA Tour status. So he's technically not, like, he's not gaining FedEx Cup points or anything. Like, he can't play in the playoffs or anything because he's like, he came up from the Corn Ferry Tour last year. So it's so weird, but he's so nasty and he's going to get all these sponsor exemptions regardless of what happens. But yeah, he's going to be a star in the making. The way he hits the ball should set up well at Torrey. I like that pick. I'll make mine for the fans now. I'm going to go with either DJ just because he looked like he was in good shape last week. Playing, he put up a decent number, so I think he could be in the running this week. He's starting to come into form at the right time. And then Brooks kind of struggled at the last day at the PGA, so I'm expecting to see a lot of fire in his game this week. He'll be dialed. He's had the beef with Bryson since, so he wants to prove a point. I bet you Brooks or DJ win. If I have to take a long shot, let's go Phil. Phil's home course, hometown. I think he can make it happen. You never know. He has 6 runner-ups at the U.S. Open. So stay tuned. Watch for Phil. You never know. If he goes back-to-back majors, maybe the Showbound podcast will do a $250 donation to a charity of a fan's choice if Phil Mickelson wins this week. Let's make it $500 to a charity if Phil Mickelson
does Phil Mickelson have a charity or something? We can donate there.
Maybe, yeah. We'll figure it out. But if Phil Mickelson wins, we'll do $500 from Showbound Podcast to a charity.
All right, so, I like that. I like Phil too. So
everyone hop on the Phil bandwagon. So it'll be for a great cause. We're real excited about that. But in other big news, for me and Rask, we were kind of just setting up a demographics page, and Rask was looking through like our stats from like the podcast and seeing how many views we get per week. And he had never actually like checked like our all-time views for all episodes. And it was actually really interesting because last week I was kind of bickering at him. I'm like, yo, we got to be over 1 million. And Rask's like, I don't know, man. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, 1 million's a lot. And I was like, no, man, like our fans got us. And Rask's like, yeah, you know what? You're right. Like, we got so many loyal fans listening every week that it could be a good chance. And I'm not going to come out and say, I'm going to let Rask say it because he discovered it first. Rask, what are we sitting at right now for all-time views?
2.5 million, baby. Let's go. Little golf clap.
Yeah, just a round of applause to our fans. Like, honestly, we wouldn't be here every week without them. And just to see that's really rewarding for us. And I think that's what keeps us coming back and wanting to make great episodes every week, is just the thought of all these people enjoying our episodes. So we're super pumped. Road to 1 billion. So everybody keep watching, keep showing us that love and support that we really appreciate so much. Rask, what do you have to say to the fans?
I think I'll take it away with the outro since you got the intro. So, I mean, yeah, like Cardsy said, we appreciate everybody. We got some big guests coming up. It's going to be a good summer of Showbound. We got the golf stuff. We love you guys. Keep listening. No weather report, but enjoy your week. Hopefully it's sunny. Hopefully everyone's enjoying some time as things start to open up in Ontario or wherever you're listening. But have a good week, guys. Talk to you next week.